James Fairfax, the former chairman of the John Fairfax publishing and media empire, made his first art purchase in 1945 at the tender age of 12. It was a street scene by Eric Wilson, and this made him, James, the youngest ever client of Macquarie Galleries in Sydney. Over the next 70 years, he continued to collect Australian art of all periods. With abundant insight, wisdom and generosity, James Fairfax was to become one of the greatest benefactors this country has known.
The Australian works of art in this auction adorned the walls of James Fairfax's homes, Retford Park in the Southern Highlands of New South Wales and his estate in Dorset in the United Kingdom. The collection includes some of the most important 19th century artists who worked in Australia, from Von Gerard through to the Impressionists Arthur Streeton, Tom Roberts and Charles Conder. Classic modernists are also included, Grace Cossington Smith and Roy de Maistre, and there are also key figures from the later 20th century. Sidney Nolan, Tony Tuckson, Geoffrey Smart and Justin O'Brien, many of whom James Fairfax knew personally. This painting is one of only 2 Gippsland landscapes painted by Eugene von Gerard. It was commissioned by John King, the grandson of Philip Gidley King, who was Governor of New South Wales from 1800 to 1806, and it depicts the Snake Ridge Run which he bought in 1851. This painting is one of the most important works by von Gerard still remaining in private hands. Amongst the Impressionist works, one of the highlights is Tom Roberts' Lady with a Parasol. Tom Roberts was Australia's leading portraitist of his time. He also painted works that helped to create the grand national narrative. Painted around the time of the renowned 9x5 Impression exhibition, this painting also shows the influence of Charles Conder. Arthur Streeton's Minarets Cairo shows the artist at the height of his powers. It was painted in 1897 in London with the aim of establishing himself as a talented and original artist. He had spent 2 months in Egypt on his way to England, but said that he found it difficult to sketch in the busy streets of Cairo, where curious onlookers often interrupted his work. One of the mid-20th century highlights is Sidney Nolan's Glenrowan, which was painted in 1955 and is part of the second series that Nolan painted on the theme of Ned Kelly. Begun 10 years after the famed first series, by which time Nolan was living in London, the theme had lost none of its power, and he produced an inspired series of paintings that showed him as a confident and highly accomplished artist. The critical response to the paintings was unanimously positive, and institutional recognition soon followed, with the Museum of Modern Art in New York and the Tate in London acquiring major works.
Only recently, in 2016, James Fairfax's country estate, Retford Park in Bowral, was gifted to the nation. In like spirit, proceeds from this Deutscher and Hackett auction will go towards a charitable foundation that will support the causes and charities that James supported throughout his lifetime, especially in the areas of children's medical research and treatment. James Fairfax's nephew, Edward Simpson, describes his uncle's art collection and benefaction, and I quote, as only one aspect of this remarkable man, his contributions to journalism, politics, public debate, medical research, conservation, education, scholarships, philanthropy in general. His knowledge and friendships with artists from Patrick White to Geoffrey Smart, his utterly beautiful houses and gardens, parties with everyone from the Duke and Duchess of Windsor, the royal families of Britain, Spain and elsewhere, to celebrities major and minor. But beyond all that, James Fairfax was a thoughtful and a kind gentleman, and a force for good who led by example and who made a remarkable and lasting contribution to cultural life in Australia.